I just want to say thank you to everyone who watches my YouTube channel. And if you don't think a Savannah monitor will play tug of war, you're wrong. Because they will. And they're actually really good at it. There we go. So if you guys like my videos, ooh, he's strong. Please go ahead and leave a like. That helps grow my channel. Also, please comment on my videos. I love interacting with you guys. It's a lot of fun, and I get to answer questions and see that you guys care. And if you're not a member of the family, you can go ahead and subscribe. It's free. It helps me grow the channel even more. And I've listened to you guys, and I do have a Patreon down below. Oh, alligator death roll. So please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, bell icon. What up, Reptile Rescue family? Could there be a better day to talk about bearded dragon diets than the day that we're going to feed dubia roaches on? Probably, but we're doing it today anyways. This is a good question. Why is this coming up? Because I've done videos like this a little bit before. And yes, guys, this is going to be one of those informational videos, but don't worry, you're going to see some cute bearded dragons eating dubia roaches. Great. But this is an important question. It comes up all the time. What is the right diet for my dragon? How many bugs can I feed my dragon? How many this can I do? How many of that can I do? Blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh, it never ends. And I guess it's important that it never ends, because when we look at bearded dragons, hi Clementine, how you doing? I know you're excited. You saw the roach container, didn't you? You're hungry? You're hungry? Yes, you are. It never ends because the information on the internet is all over the place. The information that most vets tell you is all over the place. How do I want to put this nicely? The care that we do, that some people do, is a lot of the times wrong because it's not adjusted. So what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to explain how to go based on that diet, based off of this, off of you, off of the dragon itself, rather than any chart or anything, or anyone says by this age do this, and by this age do that, and then after this many months switch to this, switch to that. Yeah, that's an okay template, but that's not really great. So I'll at least give you the starting template, and then I'll tell you how to adjust it for your dragon, which is good. And when we look at my dragons, and I'm going to show you, I have a variety of sexes out of the two, male and female. And I have a variety of ages out of, couple years old to in their teens. Okay, good. We're not going to look at everyone because we're just going to, this video would be here forever. So we're just going to do a couple things. But so we'll start with Clementine, who's a female. It's about between 4 and 5 years old. Watch Johnny Cage just fall off his hammock. He's getting excited because I'm talking and I got the roach thing here. That's great. Thanks for distracting me. So diet, even though it's a dubia roach, what you'll see is they'll tell you the diet basically is a changing diet from 0 to 2 years of age. Okay. And so from birth, they should be on mostly bugs. Up until 2 years of age, they should be on mostly greens. And you think of it on a scale of 1 to 100, right? And by year 1, that's the halfway point, it should be 50-50. So then you can think of, okay, 6 months old, they should be at 25%, bugs. And at 12 months old, 50% bugs. And then, halfway to 2 years, 75% greens, 25% bugs, and whatnot. But you don't ever hit 0. But that's like kind of the rough scale. So what people will tell you is by adults, once they hit over 2, the diet should be 90% greens, 10% bugs. Okay, that's an interesting percentage. It's an interesting total. How do we break that out? We have 7 days in a week. That's an odd number. What do we do? So people will say 6 days out of the week, greens. Okay. And now we've kind of evolved away from greens and it's just vegetables. And 1 day a week, bugs. That's the template. And that template works most of the time. So now the question comes, let's look at bug day, how to handle that, and what happens if that template isn't good for your dragon. We're going to go in. So bug day comes. What do you do? And this is where people will say, well, I feed 10 bugs. Let's say it's dubias. Let's say we even look at dubias. Well, dubias are a variety of sizes. Here's one I would say is, medium. And yes, Clementine did jump way out of her tank, and I knew she would, and I caught her. This is probably considered a small. And so would I feed her 10 of those? Would she eat 10 of those? Probably. But what happens if all of a sudden you're feeding like a larger one like this? Okay. So that's much bigger. Does that count as 2 of the other ones? And who's doing this math? Who's measuring the sizes? Even when the people say, oh, between 1 and 2 inches, then you're going to sit there and estimate on how long this, this dubia is. And is it gut loaded? Is its stomach ready to explode? Is it nice and fat? Probably not. So what do I do on this template? Pretty simple. When bug day comes, I feed them dubias, as many as they want. That's simple. I don't have a limit on bug day. This has been really good. I feed them as many as they want. And no matter what, when bug day comes, whether that bug day is going to be more than 1 day, and I'll get into that in a minute, on said bug days, I feed as many as they want, but when they're adults like this, I only give it to them in one feeding. Because if you allow them to, when they're fully grown, to sit there and get everything pushed way back in there, they could eat a ton of bugs. They're going to cram these things in. Things are going to drop down. They're going to make space, and they're going to eat an unhealthy amount of bugs, even for that one bug day. So they can get as many as they want within the one feeding. Now, this already can be abused by a dragon because they can put the food in their stomach, and then they can keep this food up here in their beard. And when that makes room, they can suck that down. But since you're doing it 1 day a week, you're normally in a good spot. You don't have to worry. And Clementine will just sit here and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. Okay, so we're going to go on to another dragon. We'll go look at Johnny Cage, and we're going to talk about how can you tell if the one bug day is enough, not enough, or is too much. And yes, 1 day a week can be too much. Let's go over and talk about that. Okay, and full disclosure, I sat there for like another 2 minutes feeding Clementine until she was done. And now we're over here at Johnny Cage. So how can we tell if it's enough, if it's too much, or if it's too little? Okay, the way I'll go over the too much later. The first thing is going to be, is it enough or is it too little? And the best thing that we're going to look at this is we're going to look at the bearded dragon's poop. Yeah, that's right. And then their appetite for other things. So by the way, Clementine ate just a huge amount. Johnny Cage doesn't eat anywhere near that amount. He's a male. He's much older. And he doesn't eat anywhere near that amount. No, and he's dropped this one, and he's mad about it. So we're going to look at their poop. And we have to first of all remember that bearded dragons, they're a plains creature. People will say that they're desert, but they're not really in just the desert. They're in the plains. There's forest, there's cars, there's water. They're not from the middle of a sand desert. They're from a hard, rocky plains area. I'll just move the camera a little bit because, you had to move down your hammock over there. That's fine. Make it worse. So we're going to look at their poop. And their poop is going to tell us a lot of things, and they're digesting from these roaches. So is this enough? Is it too much? Is it too little? So is it too little? A bearded dragon, is that it? We're already done? Yeah, he has 2 or 3 sometimes, and that's it. And here we go. So a bearded dragon is going to pee out any excess water it takes into its system. And where does it get a lot of the water? Now, Johnny Cage does drink. He does bathe. A lot of them don't. They get most of their water from the greens, right? You spray your greens, you wet down your greens. The greens themselves have water content inside of them. So if you see your dragon, and it's completely healthy, peeing out excess water, that doesn't have to worry about the bugs. What you're going to want to look at is when they actually poop. So when there is stool, is it diarrhea? Or is it nicely formed? If it is not nicely formed and more diarrhea and there's no health problems, they're not getting enough bugs. Okay, they're just not getting them. If your dragon is really skinny, the tail is really skinny, they're not getting enough bugs because this is the fat. Your greens, your turnip greens, there's no fat in that. What's up, Mongo? And guys, I've already made a video. You can go back and check it out. How to tell if your bearded dragon is a healthy weight, because it's not just head fat pads. Bearded dragons store weight all over their body. So you're going to want to look at that. Look what I got. That's gone in 2 seconds. So you've heard of gone in 60 seconds. This is gone in 2 seconds. So you're going to want to look and monitor the poop and monitor the fat. If they're getting too skinny, they got to eat more bugs. They need something with some fat content and some protein content. If there's maybe having a little bit of atrophy, they're losing some muscle mass. Even though they're eating like crazy, they're probably got a lack of protein. Most of the protein's going to come from bugs. Okay, fine. So people would start to think, all right, then that's fine. Well, how do you know if your bearded dragon is getting overweight? We can weigh our bearded dragons, but what we're noticing with bearded dragons, especially a lot of our weight scales come from wild bearded dragons. And unfortunately, these scales are really bad to use for our captive bearded dragons, because our captive bearded dragons just are not getting the exercise that a wild bearded dragon gets, but they're also, on the flip side, not getting the nutrition that a wild bearded dragon gets. We're giving them much more constant food, higher quality of food. And so when people say, oh, they're getting all the bugs. No, 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 no. Think about this. A bearded dragon in the wild, greens. Let's look at greens. Let's look at veggies. They're going to eat rotting leaves from a plant. A bearded dragon in captivity, red bell pepper, yellow squash, different squashes, different bell peppers, dark greens, turnip greens, collard greens, bok choy, arugula. They're getting all of these things, right? And then on top of that, we're supplementing calcium powder with D3, without D3, multivitamin. They're getting all of that they don't get in the wild. And because of that, they're going to be a different weight and they're going to be a different length. So we can't really use the wild length times weight equals healthy example, because it's so skewed and it's so wrong. And then if we try to use older captivity weight to length to healthy ratio, those are even wrong, because the ways we're keeping our bearded dragons now, we're keeping them much healthier. They're living much longer lives. They're not losing muscle density. They're not. So just because they weigh more doesn't mean that they're fatter. No. So we have to measure the fat. Okay, how do we measure the fat? Because the BMI for reptiles is out. Well, you can't just look at the weight for fat. You can't just look at sunken fat pads, thick tail beds underneath. You can palpate. That's one of the biggest things. You want to look at them after they poop, not when they have a big meal. And the best thing is to try to feel the organs through the stomach and see if you can feel fat on top of the organs. You could look at their legs. How do they look when they walk? When they walk, do they stand upright? Is their belly dragging? Can they hold themselves upright? Can they climb? These are all things we need to look at. If your bearded dragon is getting thin, is pooping diarrhea all the time, and you had a fecal and they're not infected, they don't have any parasites, they need more bugs. They need a little bit more fat and they need a lot more protein. If your bearded dragon is starting to so you need to give them bugs more than once a week. Okay, you give them twice a week and you go from there. Maybe it's 2 times a week, maybe it's 3 times, maybe it's 2.5. What does the half mean? It means they get 2 bugs and then they're greens that day, or 3 bugs and then they're greens. You need to look at your dragon when you're doing this, and that's the key I try to preach to people, and that's it. This has already been a long video. If you stayed until this part at the end, please write in the comments, I stayed, and I will pick out one comment for a prize. But you have to put all in capitals, I stayed. And you can then write the rest of your comment. Or personally, I would like you to leave a normal comment and then just leave a comment that says I stayed with nothing else written to it. But this is really good. Hopefully this has asked more questions, because I get asked all the times, how often do I feed bugs? And it's when you have an adult dragon, you minimum of once a week. Sometimes that's too much. Sometimes it's not enough. But start with 1. And then go up or down from the poop that they leave. All right, guys, take care. Thank you guys for supporting my reptile rescue family.